Barnabas had a second question for you. He asked you, do you have a favorite type of monster? And if so, why? Your favorite monster.
Favorite monster, an elected official. No, can you not do this? Can you not? Can we leave politics alone for just...
I thought elected officials were the snakes that swam across the Atlantic when St. Patrick drove them out of Ireland.
They sure were.
They grew up to become elected officials.
That's right. That's how we got the name the United Snakes. But no, seriously, no, actually, I would have to say that I've always had if I had to go with monsters, vampires and werewolves, I don't really like. I mean, if I had to choose between the two, I'd go with the vampire, because at least he's semi-human. Well, actually, so is the werewolf, but by turns. That's a hard choice. But I'd go with the elves and the fairies and all that stuff.
Whoa.
I'd be off with the fairies, as I say.
Elrond and Tinkerbell are not monsters.
No, they're not, but they have cousins who are not very
They have bad cousins?
They have bad cousins. Elrond and Tinkerbell are fine. But their cousins, look at the orcs were broken elves, for heaven's sake.
That's true.
Although this is in folklore.
But I mean, you don't call orcs elves. I mean, are orcs your favorite monsters?
Now. We call them disenfranchised elves.
Disenfranchised.
Yeah, DEs. Disenfranchised elves.
Oh man! But you don't like orcs. You like bad elves.
Yeah. And again, you wouldn't see any in Lord of the Rings because that's not folklore; it's literature. There's a difference. But and I'm not particularly fond of the Ickerby and Suckleby, although they would count. But no, the elves and fairies and all those people were seen as being very divided in their attitudes toward mankind, precisely because of our relationship to God. Some of them, as with the ones that St. Anthony and St. Jerome wrote about St. Anthony encountering. Some of them wanted very much to somehow share in our connection with God, to get on our gravy train, as it were. But others, it made them very angry at us indeed, and put them actually in league with hell against us. There's the story of Tam Lin, which is all bound up with Halloween. You know the story?
Tam Lin? No.
Well, it's a Scots story. It goes
Okay.
back to the Middle Ages. Basically, there's this noblewoman's daughter, we'll call her Lady Janet, and her father has given her a section of land in Edinburgh called Carterhaugh. But there's a story about Carterhaugh. You mustn't go there, young ladies, alone, because young Tam Lin, the elven knight, is there. And if you go to Carterhaugh, he will have his way with you.
Yeah.
Well, Janet doesn't care because Carterhaugh is her own. Her father owns it and he gave it to her.
Okay.
So she goes all alone, and up comes young Tam Lin. And he says, how dare you come to Carterhaugh without leave of me? And she says, well, because it's my own, my father gave it me. Well, he doesn't have his way with her. They fall in love, which comes to the same thing. And having fallen in love, he tells her the terrible truth. He's actually human and was stolen by the elves when a boy. The Queen of Fairy took her to shine to him. But now he's got a problem, because every 7 Halloweens, every 7th year on Halloween, they give a tithe to hell. And he's so rich and full of flesh, I fear 'twill be myself. So he says, if you want to save me, then you've got to be at Dillon's Cross. And when you see the fairy folk ride by, and you see a knight in full armor on a horse, on a white horse, that's me. Pull me down and hold on to me. They'll turn me into different things, but don't you let go of me. And if you can manage to hold on to me, then you'll keep me and you'll break the spell. So she goes hides behind the cross, the wayside cross, you see, in the deep woods, and there the fairy folk do ride. And suddenly she sees the one in armor on the white steed. She jumps out, pulls him down to the earth, And the Queen of Fairies shrieks at the top of her lungs, young Tamlin is a wah. Well, he changes into a lion. She holds him. Changes into a fish. She holds him. Changes into this, that, and the other. Holds him, holds him, holds him, holds him. And finally, he's back to his own self. And so she wins Tamlin back from the elves. And it ends, the song ends, it's a ballad, with the Queen of Fairies saying, had I but known, Tamlin, had I but known, I'd have taken out your heart of flesh and given you a heart of stone. So that's the story of Tamlin. And it takes place on Halloween when the fairy folk do ride.
Okay. I don't know if I 100% buy elves and fairies being quote-unquote monsters.
Well, these seem pretty nasty.
They're ugly? They're ugly creatures sometimes? They can be ugly?
They can be ugly.
What were you saying before the show? The red hat elves?
Oh, the red caps.
The red caps.
Well, these guys are pretty ugly, but they live in the Scottish borderland. And the way they keep their hats, their caps, such a beautiful color, is to waylay people and dip them in their blood.
It's pretty dark.
Yeah. You've got to bear in mind that Walt Disney was not around to take care of all this stuff in centuries gone by. So if you think the fairy folk are simply Elrond and Tinkerbell, no.
Okay.
Now, mind you, to be fair, some of them do resemble Elrond and Tinkerbell.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not like they're a very mixed bag.
Yeah.
And then some of them are animals.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not. You know how, like with our order of creation, we have people and we have animals.
Yeah.
They're not the same, but they share a lot in common. I mean, dogs are physical, we're physical, etc., etc.
Okay.
But with the fairy folk, apart from the fact they have dogs and cattle and all that, they're strange and peculiar beasts that wander about, but they're beasts. They're not intelligent. So they tell the story in the north of England of the Headley cow that would appear as all sorts of things that didn't work. A butter churn, for instance, where you couldn't get the butter going. And then you finally realize there was something wrong with it. So quick, it changes into something else that's equally useless. Until finally you figure out what it is. And in the case of the story I'm thinking of in my head, she goes, oh, bless me, it's the Headley cow. And suddenly the thing turned into what it really is, a rather stupid-looking cow. And snorted at her and ran off.
Ah, okay.
Or Black Shuck, the demon dog.
Okay.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, all this for a Halloween night. And Governor Brown.
Wow, he's the scariest of them all.
He is.